Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Liz. If you're wondering why things look like a ginormous mess behind me, because they do, this whole room is an absolute just disaster at the moment. We are moving, and if you want to hear more details on that, I will link my previous video down below so you can check that out. Get all those details. For now, thank you to CRICUT for sponsoring today's video. I have some really fun CRICUT DIYs for you, duping Kirkland's signs that I think that you guys are gonna love. You can get high-end looking signs for much, much cheaper. And when I first bought my CRICUT, that was why. To make high-end signs for myself. So I hope that you guys enjoy this video. Let's go ahead and jump on in. So browsing through the Kirkland's website, I went over to the Harvest Fall Decor. I'm so excited for all this stuff. They just had so many beautiful pieces. And when I saw this Welcome Friends piece with the beaded garland, I was really, really excited. I just thought this was gorgeous, and I knew I could recreate it for a fraction of the cost. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one of these 12 by 12 canvases that I got in a pack, I believe from Joann's or Hobby Lobby, possibly even Michael's. But I just grabbed this canvas frame, and I'm going to remove the canvas off of the frame itself because I want that bare wood frame. So I'm just going to take a knife and go around and cut it off. You could take the staples out if you wanted to. I personally didn't feel the need to because I'm going to cover it up anyways, and it takes a ton of time to go through and take all the staples out. So I just go through and remove all the canvas from the staples. And then I'm going to set that canvas to the side because we are going to need it. So I am going to take my Waverly chalk paint in Elephant, and I'm going to paint the entire frame in this color, and I only did one coat. So when creating the decal for this piece, it's really, really easy. I'm just going to go into my design space. Now, I have already pre-made all of these designs, so I will have a link down in my description box. If you have a Cricut and you want to make them, you can have the link to all of these designs, so it's super easy. But if you want to see how I put them together, all I'm going to do is type out welcome, I'm going to type out friends, and then I'm going to go through and change the font. The font for the welcome is in Otherwise CLN. It's one that I had purchased, I believe, off Design Bundles. And then for friends, it is going to be in the font Elmira. It's this really pretty cursive. And I'm going to show you how you can get the little swirls on the end of the F and the S, or the little, the little end there, because you can see here, it doesn't come up with that. So if you want to get the little beginning and ending swirl type piece on the word friends, this is how you would do it. So again, this is a font that I purchased and downloaded to my computer. So I will go over to my computer search bar and type in character map, and then I will go into the font that I'm using. So I will just go find that font down on the left-hand side. When I have found that font, I'll click on it, and then I'll scroll down until I see the alphabet with the little swirls on the front and the ends. So you can see they have them down there. I'll find the F, and then I'll go down to copy. I'll go back to my Cricut design space. I'll double click on my word. I'll highlight the F, and then I'll just do Control V to paste it. And now you have the little swirly piece on the front of your F. And then you do the same thing for the S. You just find the S, copy it, and then paste it onto your S on the word friends. And that's all you have to do for that. Super, super easy. And then all you're going to do is just size it to the size of your project. Click on make it. Now for this one, because we're using the canvas, remember to mirror your design, and don't forget to weld your design as well, so that the word friends will cut out as one piece instead of each individual letter. And then you'll click continue, and you'll just mark whichever type of material you're using. You'll want to click on iron on vinyl, shiny side down, and you'll cut out your decal. And I'm going to be using my Cricut Maker to cut out my decals for this video. This is one that I recently purchased with my own money. It was on a really good deal because the Maker 3 and the Explorer Air 3 are out now, so they've marked down the Maker. and I only had the Explorer 2 before, so I figured why not take a step up. It was on a really great deal, so I snagged it up. So once that's done, I'm just going to weed out my design. Now, when using HTV, it's a whole lot easier to weed than regular just adhesive vinyl because the vinyl itself isn't sticky, so you don't have to worry about it touching other pieces of your vinyl and it sticking to it and then completely ruining your whole project. I've had that done so many times and it's so frustrating. So I personally love weeding HTV because it is so easy. And then I am going to lay my frame on top of my canvas just to get kind of an idea of where I want everything to sit. So I'm going to put my words down, my vinyl down, try to get a good idea of where I want it to go. And once I have it where I want it, I'll just press down on it so that the backing will stick to my canvas. And I'm also using the back side of the canvas, just as a side note, for this project. Then I'm going to take my CRICUT heat press and a Teflon sheet just as, you know, an extra layer of protection, and I'm going to set that to 320 for 15 seconds. I was somehow lucky enough to find a wooden garland with leaves that were similar in shape to the original one on Kirkland's website. So I picked these up from Walmart. I believe it was $2.98 for this garland, and I thought this was perfect. So I just grabbed out 2 leaves that were similar in color, and then I'm going to grab 4 large beads and my Dixie Belle vintage duck egg paint, my absolute favorite color right now, and I thought it was perfect because it did match the original picture too. So I just took 4 of those. I only ended up needing 3. So I'm going to take some more natural wood beads that are smaller than the Dixie Belle ones. I will string 2 of those in between each of the larger bead, string on my leaves, more beads, just, you know, repeat that pattern until I have 3 sets of the beads. And then I'll just start assembling it all just using some hot glue. I'm just going to use that to attach my canvas down to my frame. And before I get to the very top, I'll stop a little ways so that I can insert my little garland piece, and I just made the twine go up through the top corner of each side, and then I just hot glued that down to the back. And the last thing that I did was just hot glue the bottom of the leaves down to a certain spot so that they weren't twisting or turning and they were, you know, facing straight, and I didn't have to worry about moving them back that way. So just hot glued those down, and that's it for this one. I thought this turned out so cute. It's not an exact dupe, but I do think it looks pretty similar, and I'm loving the way that this one turned out. For this one, I saw this round fall sign. I absolutely love the signs with all the fall things on it. You know, for example, this one, apple cider, hay rides, pumpkins, bonfires, leaves. I just thought that this one was so cute, and I decided to throw a little design together. So I'm just going to speed through this process of how I made it. Honestly, it's really, really easy. You're just going to type out your words, find the fonts that you want to use. There is a little curve button so you can curve your words, and one trick that I use is to take a circle the size of the circle that I'm going to be using. So for example, for this project, the piece that I'm using is an 8-inch round circle. So I will make a circle in CRICUT Design Space, make it 8 inches, and then I can size everything to that circle so that it'll be all nice and perfect when I cut it out. So I just go through and type in all the words that I want to be in there, and then I'll change the fonts and sizing and just kind of lay everything out. Now again, with the cursive, you want to make sure that you're welding that together so that when it cuts out, it's cutting out all in one piece instead of each individual letter. And then I just attach everything so it all stays in place when I'm cutting it out. And then I'll move on over to painting my sign. So this is something that I just got from the Dollar Tree, this little family wood round. And I believe it's just like an MDF material. It's not actual wood, but I just took my heat gun to heat up the stickiness from that tag so that I could take that off. And then I'm just going to give this a rough coat of paint, probably about, one, maybe 1.5 coats of this Dixie Belle paint and fluff. And then I'll take the brush that I used for my previous project that had the gray paint on it, and I just used the remaining paint that was on the brush just to dry brush over the circle. And then I'm just going to go through and weed my project. It's a little hard to see because it's white vinyl on a white carrier sheet, so you can't see it too well, but I'm going to use the vinyl as a stencil. So instead of weeding it like you normally would with taking out all the negative spaces, you're going to take out all the words. So everywhere where you would want paint to go, you are going to remove. So I'm going to remove all the letters, but I'm going to be keeping in all the little pieces, like for the A's and the O's and the P's, all the little middle pieces I'm going to leave there. Just what you're going to do. And one trick that I do with this when I'm applying my transfer tape and then trying to remove that back carrier sheet, sometimes it can be a little bit hard to remove. So I like to kind of roll my carrier sheet back, and that helps me not lose so many pieces and keeps everything nice and down. I can just push over the pieces that are lifting up a little bit and it will stick back down. Now I'm just going to lay that on my sign and then rub it on using the burnishing tool, and then I will just remove the transfer tape and start stenciling. So I'm just going to use some Dixie Belle paint just in black, and then this orangey red one, I believe it's called Rust Red or something along those lines. I can't remember, but it's one of my favorite colors for fall because I just love the rusty orangey red tones. I just think it's really, really fun. So I just went around with my black paint with an up and down dabbing motion and stenciling through the words. And then for the word fall, I used the orangey reddish rusty color. And I just did one rough coat of all of this. I didn't worry about making it too perfect. And before it dries, you want to make sure that you remove your vinyl. So I'm just immediately going through and removing the vinyl. And whatever I can't pull off just with my hands, I'll go back through using my weeding tool and weed out the remaining vinyl. And when I did pull this up, it did peel off some of the paint, mostly from the spot where the tag was on the sign, where it had some of that sticky residue that I couldn't get off, but it wasn't too big of a deal because I just went back through with some white paint on a paintbrush and touched it up, and you never could have tell that the paint had peeled up to begin with. And that's it for this project. You could add the leaves on like the inspiration photo, but I decided to just leave it like this, and I think it's so cute. Now for this project, I saw this Crisp Autumn Days wall hanger, and I just thought this was so pretty. I love the blue for fall. I feel like it's something that's really popular this year, and mixed with those orange watercolor-like leaf and pumpkin, I just thought this was really pretty, and I knew I could recreate it. So I just went over to my Cricut design space, typed up the words. I used the font England Signature, and again, this is something that I purchased off of design bundles, and I just thought that this font matched pretty well with the original. And you don't really need to keep them in a certain way because I am going to be cutting them all apart in the end anyway. So just as long as the words are the size that you need them, you can always size to your sign once you get your sign all ready to go. So I'm going to take one of these chalkboard signs that you can get from the Dollar Tree. The words and everything on the front were already coming off, so I just took a razor blade and kind of scraped off as much as I possibly could, and then used some alcohol to kind of wipe up the rest. It came off pretty easy, so I wasn't too worried about it, and then I could have a finished backing since I wouldn't have to use the back. So I just took my Dixie Belle paint and fluff, and I did give about 2 coats to get the black completely covered up. Now I am going to take one of these stake pieces that came off of some signs from the Dollar Tree, the little yard stake signs, and I'm going to measure this to the size of my sign, and I'm going to cut out 2 pieces because I am going to use these as a border for my sign. So I just grabbed some brown paint. I'm going to paint both of these pieces. Once those are dry, I'm going to use this as a template for now, but I'm going to take some painter's tape and I'm going to start making the stripes that were on that sign. Now, it had a stripe immediately from the top portion of the sign or the frame, and then it had a blue stripe right next to that. And so I just measured the distance from the top portion to the blue stripe and laid some painter's tape down and painted a stripe right there. The top part doesn't matter because it is going to be covered up. And I just do that to the top and the bottom. And then I'm going to just start making some more stripes. So I just laid my painter's tape a little bit over the top of that blue stripe that we already had going. And then I just used some more painter's tape to create another line. And I'm just, again, going to do that on the top and bottom. Now, the inspiration piece did have 3 stripes on the top and the bottom, but if I did a 3rd stripe, it was going to take way too much of my sign that I needed to use for the other pieces. So I decided to just stick with 2 stripes. Obviously, if you had a longer sign, you could definitely do this, or I could have made the stripes smaller, but I felt like for the size of the sign, those stripes were perfect. So I'm going to take a leaf and a pumpkin that you can get from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use some wood filler to fill in those holes at the top. And then once those are dry, I'm going to take some orange paint, and I did use some water in there, so it is pretty watered down. And then I got a damp sponge, and I'm just going to make dabbing motions all over the leaf and the pumpkin. I didn't want this to be perfect by any means, and in the inspiration picture, it did have a lot of different colors. There was, I'm not different colors, but more of different shades of orange. A lot lighter spots of orange, a lot darker spots of orange. So I also did mix in a little bit of brown to get a darker orange and dab all over there. I just kind of wanted that watercolor, not so perfect look to the leaf and the pumpkin. And then I'll just start hot gluing the leaf and the pumpkin down on the top corner and the bottom corner, just like the picture. And then I'm going to take my decals that I cut out, I'll add my CRICUT transfer tape to it, and then I'll just cut out each word individually. Since my sign was a little bit smaller and my pumpkin and my leaf were a little bit bigger, I needed to kind of rearrange the placement of them. So that's why I used them in 4 separate pieces rather than in one big piece to lay down, and I just individually placed each word on and used my burnishing tool to get the word stuck on there, remove the transfer tape, and that's it. You could add a hanger to this one if you want, just like the inspiration picture on Kirkland's website. I decided not to for now, but that is, like I said, something you could definitely do. Otherwise, I think that this sign turned out so pretty. Only cost me, I don't know, maybe $3 possibly to make, and I just think that this turned out so pretty. For this one, I saw this "Hey There Pumpkin" sign on Kirkland's. I just thought this was so cute. Now, the inspiration piece, this one is a lot bigger than the one that I'm going to do. It's more of a large hanging piece, but I did not have the ability to make that big of a sign at the moment. But I bet if you took the really large pumpkin craft wood pieces that you can get from the Dollar Tree, you could probably make one this big. But I decided to make a smaller version of it. So again, really simple. I just went onto my design space on CRICUT, typed in the words "Hey there pumpkin." For the "Hey there," it's in England signature font, and then for the word pumpkin, it is in linotype Rowena Pro Medium. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but you know, there you go. That's the font that it's in. So I just took one of these little box frames that you can get from the Dollar Tree, and I didn't have any orange and white buffalo check paper, but I did have this really pretty yellow one that I thought would look really cute with the blue pumpkin as well. So I just used my sign to trace on the back of the paper, and I cut that out. And then for the sides, I am just going to use my Dixie Belle Paint and Fluff to paint the sides. Again, I probably could have used the paper, but I didn't want to piece a bunch of paper together and have all the seams showing, so I thought that it would just look best to have just some plain white sides. And then for the pumpkin, I'm going to do kind of the same technique that I did for the previous pumpkin and leaf from my other project. And I just took a damp sponge with this blue paint from Dixie Belle, and I'm just doing up and down dabbing motions. And then to kind of take it even further, I took a baby wipe and I'm just doing up and down, kind of rubbing some paint off here and there, just making it look really messy. And then I'm just going to use my glue stick to glue on my scrapbook paper to the front of my sign. I'll weed out my "Hey There Pumpkin" decal, use the CRICUT transfer tape to transfer my vinyl on top of my pumpkin. Use some hot glue to hot glue that down to the middle of my sign, and that's it for this one. I think it turned out really cute. For our last DIY, this is super easy. I love being able to take candle holders and make them into something different, especially for a very affordable price. So I saw these candle holders and I thought these were so cute. They had just these fall words written on them, and I wanted to be able to do the lid for this project, but I couldn't find one or anything that fit the size of the glass candle holder that I'm going to be using. So if you could find something to fit your candle holder and do this lid like this, I think that would be really cute too. So I am just going to do the "Hey Pumpkin" on my design space, just cut those words out with some gold adhesive vinyl. And I found this orange candle holder at the Dollar Tree. I liked that it had half of it in that frosty orange. I thought that was really pretty. So all you have to do is weed out your words, attach your transfer tape to it, and put it on top of your candle. And that's all you got to do. Really easy and simple, and a fun way to just dress up something that's a little bit more plain and turn it into some fall decor. You could add a real candle to it, like I will show you. The candle was a little bit too big, or you could add in just one of Dollar Tree's LED candles, the little tea light ones, and I think either way it looks really fun, and it just adds that perfect pop of gold and orange to your fall decor. that's it for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what your favorite DIY was in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe before you guys leave. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.